Hey everyone, my name's Lois and I run Lois Crochet, an independent crochet business from the UK. And so a couple of weeks ago I made this really beautiful Duchess doll, and I thought she needs a friend, and I said I was going to make all the Nightfarers, so I'm gonna make all the Nightfarers. So today we're going to be making Recluse. Hope you guys are as excited as I am, and let's get into the video. Recluse is the next of the 8 Nightfarers I will be making. She is a witch whose skills are based on intelligence and faith. Her skills include Magic Cocktail, where she collects affinity residues to mix together to create a range of magic attacks, as well as her Soul Blood Song, which marks the enemy with a blood sigil. Before I could start Recluse, I first had to go yarn shopping, so I couldn't decide between these 2 purples, and I actually ended up getting 3 different purples and I only used 1. So the plan for today is just to use a basic doll body to make Recluse's body. I'm a little bit on her face just because she has very light facial features and I don't know if she's going to look uncanny. However, for the big witch hat, I have already made a doll with a big witch hat. I have recently made Rani, so I can just use the pattern from her witch hat and change it a bit to make Recluse. I made Recluse's head quickly off of camera, and I did it in the same way as Duchess's, where it was a hole in the bottom so that her head can turn. Up were her arms, which I also made quickly off of camera, as well as these ears, and I never used them because she doesn't have her ears on show. Next up to make was her legs, and the way I made these, I made the foot and stuffed it, and then I made the rest of the leg without stuffing, just so I can make sure that it was super tight, because the stuffing I use is white, and obviously this is very dark yarn, so I didn't want it to show through as it would be really noticeable. Of course, after the leg was done, it was time to stuff. And to stuff things like arms and legs for my dolls, I usually get my stuffing and use a pen or a pencil to push it inwards, just so that I don't actually stretch out the piece with my finger, and I can get right to the bottom of it and make sure that it's all super packed in there and really tight and neat. And once I had finished stuffing the first leg, I could then move on and do the second, so that I had a pair of legs for the doll. And after all of that, I now had her head, her arms, both of Recluse's legs, and of course, the pair of ears that I didn't need and never used, but it's fine, they took me like a minute to make. So I've just finished the body for the doll, and I was looking at her and I was like, something is missing, and I couldn't quite work out what, and then it hit me. Yeah, so I forgot Recluse's absolutely massive badonky donks. So let's go make them. This is my first time making a doll that has boobs and like curvatures of their figure, so I don't know quite how to do it, but yeah, I'm excited to do something different, I guess. And my plan to make these boobs was to make these 2 little dome shapes and actually stuff and sew them onto her chest, and they worked out really well, but unfortunately her top afterwards did make it look a bit fatter, which I'm not quite happy about. Now, in terms of gameplay, when I first started playing as Recluse, I absolutely sucked at her. I just did not know how to play her, but once I learned how to do the different cocktails and use her attacks, I actually really enjoyed playing as her. She's definitely a supporting character, but if you get the right stuff, you can do a lot of damage. Here is all the stuff that I originally picked out to make Recluse's face, and I'm gonna be honest, I was so nervous to do this doll's face. First of all, I just really could not find a nice colour for her lips. I sewed them on in this like raspberry kind of colour, and I thought it looked nice. But when I started adding the other features, I actually really didn't like it. It looked too dark for her skin, and it made her look like she had really bright lipstick on, which she kind of has a more natural look. So I did end up changing this, and after I'd actually sewn these on, I did also sew a black line on to separate the lips. However, it all did get undone. Next up was the other thing I was really nervous for, which is sewing such light features onto such a dark doll, as I didn't want her to look really weird. And I sewed on her eyebrows in the same colour as her hair, and then I sewed her eyes on, and I used a light blue yarn, but for some reason it came out looking just white, so you wouldn't be able to see the difference between the iris and the white of the eye, so I ended up colouring them in with some felt to make them a bit more blue. and this is the final eyes, and I love how they turned out. So Recluse's face is now done, which means I can start on her hair. I'm using this colour, it's called Hint of Silver, and I'm going to be using the crochet pattern that I made for Melena's hair from Elden Ring. This is her. And basically I'm just going to be making it a little bit longer so it comes to like here. So yeah. I started Recluse's hair making the cap as I would with all of my dolls, and I'd done all of that hair and I ended up at this point, and then I realised something. Okay, so I messed up big time. For some reason I thought Recluse's hair was all short to her shoulders, because that's what I can see in all of my reference photos. No, it's short here at the front and then it's really long and curly at the back, so I have to do basically from this part of the wig here, I have to redo everything else. So I'm gonna do that now. It's like 10 o'clock at night and I've only just realised this because I was working on a blanket today, so that's really fun. I was so tired. I'd done the rest of the hair off of camera. I just wanted to get it done. I'd done the long curly hair at the back and kept some of the shorter parts at the front, and I also made this, which is her bun, which I could sew on the back of her hair and you would be able to see it peeking out through her hat. And this is the finished doll hair, all pinned down. I didn't get a video of it sewed though. Okay, so this is the night 1 fight and we were doing really well. We took down Valiant Gargoyle, we took down the like original boss before that, and we were all really excited. We got our item, and then I was looking for the Grace and I was very, very confused. I was like, where's the Grace? What's going on? And I think my teammates were as well. We were just kind of like, what's happening? And we were all spinning because we were like, yeah, we did it. And then this happened and I was so scared. And we actually got a third boss, and you can see the Night Threat is a noob. Yeah, I did not know this could happen. I was actually really shocked by it. And we did take down the Smeller Demon. When making Recluse's clothes, I knew I had to start from the bottom upwards as she has quite a lot of layers. So the first thing I made was this bodice. I tried to do the design that was on the front of it, and I think it turned out pretty cute even though it's not exact. Next up was to make her bottom skirts for the purple robe that she wears. So she has this one skirt which is like a full little mini skirt, and I sewed the silver trim onto that and I sewed it onto the body. I did try and copy the pattern that was on it as close as I can, and then I also made this lower part of the skirt which is long and open at the front, and again I sewed that onto the doll. I do wish the bottom skirt was a bit more closed, but nothing I can do about that. I then went on to make her sleeves, and these were nice to make as they're not actually attached to the rest of it, so I can just make them and sew them onto the sides of the bodice. And again I added the little trims to them and they turned out super cute, and I'm really happy with her so far. So I've just finished all of like Recluse's top and her purple skirt parts, and I'm really happy with how they turned out, but they are taking me so long. She has so many layers on, guys. Oh my god, it's just taking me forever. So I'm really happy that now I'm gonna do her shoes. I get a little break because her shoes are really simple. They're just little kind of bowl shapes with laces around them, and I'm so happy because I need a break. To make Recluse's shoes, I used a pattern for her feet and made it just a tiny bit wider so it would fit over them, and I sewed them down. And then I used the same colour and sewed these kind of tie-up lace details. I also quickly made this frilled detail as I forgot to put on her sleeves earlier. And now I could finish the tie-up robe that she has, so I made the back piece, and these long strands at the front will actually tie across her waist to make it look like a kind of tied up robe around her, and that means I can move it onto the longer black bits of the skirt. Now, I wanted to play Nightreign, but I wanted some more chilled gameplay, so I decided to do Recluse's questline, as I want to finish all of them for all the characters. I've already done Duchess's. I ended up getting to this point where you could hear the baby crying, and I found this purple patch on the bed. I wasn't too sure what was going on, to be honest, but I started speaking to the Iron Manual and he explained what to me.
I shall look into the matter.
And after playing a bit more Nightreign, I can now power through the last two bits of the skirt. I had this long black one, and I've done it a little bit shorter than it should have been, just so the purple peeked out so you could see a bit more of it. and then this top one which was a bit more frilly, and that was all the skirts finally done. I then made the waistband for the skirt, and this was really simple to make. It was just a black kind of cord, and then I sewed these little gold details onto it, and I think they turned out pretty cute. They're not neat at the back, but it will be covered up. I also forgot to add these parts of the sleeve earlier, which is just like these black kind of hanging details, so I added them quickly, as well as the back of her shawl. But this is all of the clothes done. I'm so happy to have them all done, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. All of Recluse's clothes are done now, and thank God. She had so many layers and so many little kind of tied on bits and hanging parts and stringy bits, and it just took forever. I'm so glad that they're done. I've done all the embroidery, everything is done on it. Now I get to the really fun part, making her hat. And this is probably going to make her look really witchy now, and I'm really excited. And speaking of witchy, I thought I would show you a bit more of the more interesting parts of Recluse's questline. So for one part, I had to fight this like shadow golden hippo, and I was so scared to do this. I really didn't think I was going to do it. I was just spamming like forms of briar, I think this was called. Just spamming that and hoping that it would get blood loss. And after a while, I finally took him down. And I actually did this first try, and I'm very proud of myself for doing that. So I knew that making this witch hat was going to be the nicest part of this whole project, because I already had a pattern from Rani's witch's hat. However, I did not take into account that the edge of the hat is ombre. And I was like, how am I going to do this? So I ended on doing black, and then like the light purple that I've been using around the edge, and I also put wire in the edge so that the hat could like crumple up. And after this, I made the bottom of that hat so I could sew that together, so you know that I could stuff it and make sure it was full. And now I could actually move on to making it ombre, and I decided to use really watered down black paint and just dab it until the two colours were blended, the black and the purple. And I didn't know how this was going to look, but I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. It's like a smoky kind of ombre. I then made a super long chain to make these banjo like details, and sewed on all these little sigils, and the front ones were fine, but the side ones were meant to be trees. They don't look like trees. I'd done my best, and I also done a couple on like the point of the hat. Okay, so Recluse is done! Yay! I'm so happy. This doll, oh my gosh, it took me so long. There was so many layers and small pieces to embroider and just so much to do. I love her. She turned out so gorgeous, but oh my god, she was a big project, like a lot bigger than I realised. But she's done now, and I just quickly wanted to take a moment to ask if you did like my video or you like crochet content, please like, share, subscribe, as it would really help me and it would really help my art get out there. But without further ado, we can now move on to the finished Recluse doll. And so here is how our two night fairs have turned out so far. I absolutely love how this series is going, and I can reveal next up on my list is Wilder. If you really want to see him, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Duh. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.